Okay.
You have any Hashana from Israel today?
No. Okay.
You want to punch that?
Okay.
I don't know what that says.
It's yeah, I can click it.
My
Hello. Yeah, this is recording. Okay.
There's a feast on the table up there. I see. Oh, I had a hand room full of food.
Okay, I think we're going to start. So good morning, everybody. We're today's class is sponsored by Natalie Gutman in loving memory of her father. The yahrzeit was yesterday. Her father's name was Joseph Gutman, Yosef Moshe Binyamin ben Chava Hinda. And thank you, Natalie, for sponsoring today's class. So last time we discussed Malchuyot, Zichronot, and Shofarot, the three main brachot, the blessings, the middle blessings of the Amidah in Rosh Hashanah, Musaf. And we discussed a little bit of the structure. We said that for each one of them, we have a very clear structure. We have an opening, which we discussed, the Aleinu, for example, right? And Ata Zocher for Zichronot, and Ata Nigleta, which was the opening for Shofarot. Then we said there was then there are 10 verses for each, 3 from the Torah, three from the Ketuvim, writings, 3 from the Nevi'im, the prophets, and then a 10th from the Torah. And what I would like to do today is to kind of complete that with the concluding part of each of those blessings, and then the additional part, which is we have shofar blowing and 2 poems. Okay, so let's kind of like step back and try to understand the whole structure of the middle section of the Amidah of Rosh Hashanah. Okay, so I'm just gonna take a step back. It's a total of 9 blessings. The first 3, the last 3, nothing changes. We said it a million times. Great. Then we have, instead of, hi, Natalie. Thank you again for sponsoring in memory of your father's yahrzeit, Yosef Moshe Binyamin ben Chava Hinda.
Thank you.
Everybody is invited to take something to eat. So we have the structure, right? 3 blessings at the beginning, 3 blessings at the end. That never changes. Unlike weekdays, regular Shmona Esrei, where we have 13 petitions in the middle, or Shabbat and holidays, where we have one central bracha, whether it's Shabbat or holidays, that's called Kedushat Hayom, sanctification of the day, and deals with, the theme is the day itself, whether it's Shabbat or holiday, that kind of stuff. Rosh Hashanah Musaf is the only one that has 9 blessings. That means in the middle, instead of one central bracha, we have 3, because usually 3 and 3 and 3 is 9. Okay, so last week we discussed what's the structure of each of those 3. We said we have a very clear structure. We have an opening part, right? For the first one, Malchuyot, kingship. It starts with the Aleinu, right? For Zichronot, the second bracha starts with the paragraph Ata Zocher, you remember, and we talked about the whole idea of what does it mean. We ask God to remember because God doesn't forget anything. And the third one is Shofarot. Well, if I need to explain to you why Shofar on Rosh Hashanah, then probably you're in the wrong room. Okay, so that's the opening. We discussed those three openings. Then we have 10 verses for each one of them. Actually, it's not exactly 10, but whatever. Let's call it 10 for now. 10 verses, 3 from the Torah, 3 from the Ketuvim, 3 from the Nevi'im, and 1 back to the Torah, which leaves the concluding part of each blessing, which we're going to discuss today. And then, as I said last week, both the Zichronot and the Shofarot, actually everything prompts us to go into action, right? So the shofar is that sound that's supposed to awaken us, right? The shofar is also that trigger that asks us to remember. And it's actually, when we talk about remembering, is what does it mean? Right? Because we ask God to remember, which means we said that exactly, it's taking an action every time in the Torah, right? Every time God remembers something, it's going into action. And so that means, what does it mean for us? Action, right? So we have, at the end of each bracha, we have the shofar blowing, but we have also 2 little poems as well. Okay, so we're gonna go discuss those 2 little poems that repeat 3 times, and the concluding part of each of those brachot. Okay, so where are we? We're on page the Malchuyot, Zichronot, and Shofarot start on page 6. Oh, well, this is the second day. It makes no difference. Second day, first day, it's the same. But let's do, I can do the first day. Makes no difference. It's gonna be here. Page 528. However, we're going to start a little bit after that. Okay. So remember what we said. Malchuyot, the first bracha, right, with the opening of Aleinu in 528, the question that it asks is, how do I see the world? Is this world a kind of a random collection of, let's call it, powers, beings, whatever you want to call it, or that there's one king, one ruler for the world? Zichronot, the second bracha, how the past shapes my responsibility. Is it just nostalgia, or whether it's a real power that moves or creates the covenant? Rachamim, compassion, that's what we're asking. Action. Shofarot, do I hear that call? A call that actually asks me, behooves me, demands from me to act. Okay?
So you can't have one without the other. If you don't have the recall, then you
Correct.
can't move forward in the right way.
Correct. And this is the progression. Correct. Okay. And the 3 themes together, all those 3 blessings, create what we call the avodah of Rosh Hashanah: to coronate God, to remember, and to awaken. And as we mentioned last week, the Gemara, the Talmud calls it Imru lefanai beRosh Hashanah, recite before me on Rosh Hashanah, Malchuyot, Zichronot, and Shofarot, those 3 blessings. Malchuyot, kedei shetamlichuni alechem, Malchuyot, right? So you will coronate me. Zichronot, right? Zichronot, kedei she'yavo lefanai zichronchem letova. So I will remember you for good. And uvameh b'shofar. And how? Through the sound of the shofar. Okay. So it's not just a collection of liturgical themes or whatever, but it's a process. It's a spiritual process. We get into some sort of a mindset of the Malchut. We go deeper into the Zikaron, into the memory, remembrance, and then the final awakening is happening through the sound of the shofar. Okay. So, Aleinu is the first one, right? If we're talking about the opening, Ata Zocher is for the second one, and Ata Nigleta is for the third one. Then we have, as I said, the 10 verses, and then we have the 3 concluding parts, which is Meloch, Zocherenu, and Tekah B'Shofar Gadol. What do they have in common? What exactly their functionality? So if the beginning of the bracha gets us into this mindset, right? And the verses, the 10 verses, build, expand, demonstrate that idea from the Bible, the entire spectrum of the Bible, then the concluding part of each bracha translate into action and to real tefillah, to request, to a demand, to something. It's not enough to recognize something like in the beginning, how it translates. What does it mean? And that's exactly what we're going to see. So just reminding you, one of the things that we said last week, that the fact that we have those 10 verses also tells us that there's a clear structure of things, right? It's a very clear structure. The number 10 represents completion, minyan. It's the 10 utterance in which the world was created, right? It's the 10 commandments, it's the 10 plagues in Egypt, it's the 10 trials of Abraham, it's the 10 days of commandment. It's all that kind of stuff. It's a completion, right? So the idea of 10 is building a whole world, so to say, around that. A world of kingship, around a world of kingship, a world of memory, and a world of shofar. Okay, fine. And the idea is to tell us that even though it looks like chaotic, Rosh Hashana, it's life and death and judgment and mercy and past and future and everything, and what do I do with that, and how do I navigate in all? No. There's order. There's order. There's a way on how you come in front of God, how you daven, what do, how do you go through the process of tshuva. You're not in chaos. There's a structure, there's a covenant, there's language, there's a way to approach God, which is supposed to be very comforting because, okay, I get it. There's a lot of work to be done, but at least there's a roadmap. I know what to do.
System.
That's a different story. Right. Okay. So the ending parts of each bracha is the kind of like the transition from the idea into the request. After we learn like the opening, the aleinu, whatever, is the request, is what do we want to do with that? Where is it going? Okay, so let's take a look at each one of them. So the first one for Malchuyot is Meloch. That's the top of page 440. And what do we say? We're going to do it in English. All right? Our God and God of our forefathers, reign over the entire universe in your glory. Be exalted over all the world in your splendor. Reveal yourself in the majestic grandeur. 541.
You said 440.
Oh, my mistake. 541. You're supposed to know the structure of the tefillah by heart by now. So I don't understand what's the problem. Doesn't matter what number I say. You know, you're supposed to know where it is already. Of your strength over all the dwellers of your inhabited world. Let everything that has been made know that you are its maker. Let everything that has been molded understand that you are its molder. and let everything with a life's breath in its nostrils proclaim Hashem, the God of Israel, is king, and his kingship rules over everything. I'm going to skip the brackets. Sanctify us. Okay, this is like the regular the text that we see in every Kedushat Hayom, right? We see that on Shabbat, we see it in the holidays, we discussed that. Okay. So after we said Aleinu, okay, and we discussed Aleinu at length last week, and after we said the 10 verses, the ending, this paragraph asks the question, what is the outcome what is the desired outcome of God's kingship? It's not only that we will recognize God as the ruler and the king of the universe, but rather, look at the text. Meloch al kol haolam kulo bichvodecha. Reign over the entire world. This is the outcome that we're asking for. 540, 541. And that's connected to what we said last week. Remember, what did we say about Aleinu last week? If you need, you can take a look at Aleinu at 528 and you can compare this. But in Aleinu, what we said on one hand, it's Aleinu l'shabeach. We have to, it is our duty to praise. Okay, fine. And it emphasizes our specific identity or our specific role, call it whatever you want. On the other hand, the second part of Aleinu, which we discussed, which is here, 534, Al ken ikavel lecha Hashem Elokeinu lirot be'edcha b'tefer zecha, blah, 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 blah. What do we say? B'chol bnei basar yikru b'shmecha alafnot. Right? Yekiru v'yidu kol yoshvei tevel. The Al ken ikavel, the second part of Aleinu, becomes this universal prayer. Letaken olam b'malchut Shaddai. It's not about us only. It's the entire universe, everything. Same goes for the Meloch that we're discussing here. It's not only about us. It's not only about the Jewish people, blah, blah, blah. Meloch al kol haolam kulo b'chvodecha. Reign over the entire universe in your glory. Now, when we say Meloch al kol haolam kulo b'chvodecha, isn't that weird? I mean, God is already the king of the universe. So what does it mean? Reign over, how does it? Reign over the entire universe. He's already the king of the entire universe. So what is our request? That everybody would recognize that.
Or that we are functioning as his emissaries.
That's for sure. That's already in the first part, correct? This is our job, right? But we want everybody to recognize that. Okay? And there's like something beautiful about that. Hinaseh al kol haaretz. We want that kingship as something elevated, not like just like, power of politics or wealth or ego or any of that stuff that we can, it's hinaseh. It's like raise above. It's something that is okay. What do we say? Vehofa behinaseh. Right? We say vehofa ba'adar gonuzecha. I'm sorry. Vehofa ba'adar. Appear. How did it translate it? Reveal. Okay. What does it mean? It means we don't want God's kingship to be hidden. We want revelation. We want God's presence in the world to be seen, felt. Yeah. Remember, we talked about, throughout the year, we spoke through actually the last 2 years. When we discussed Tefillah, we discussed the three themes of creation, revelation, and redemption. We want God's power, presence to be revealed. Okay? So, in Malchuyot, and specifically here in the closing paragraph of it, we're not asking God to be the king because he is already the king. We're asking that the world will stop being blind to his kingship. Okay. And one of the most beautiful transitions, at least in my mind, you could disagree if it's beautiful or not. There's a transition. וידע כל פעול כי אתה פעלתו, ויבין כל יצור כי אתה יצרתו. The language shifts from the entire world, מלוך על כל העולם כולו בכבודך, the entire universe, to where? וידע כל פעול. Let everything that has been made, every individual creature, ויבין כל יצור, everything, I'm not crazy about this translation, I have to be honest with you. Everything that has been molded. Okay.
Every essence.
It's every essence, every being. Every creation. So we move from this entire world, this general thing, into the individual. Now, what is yeda, veda kol paul, and then veyavin? We have two verbs here that seems. Well, what's the difference between ladat, yeda, and havana? Ladat and to lehavin.
Understand.
Okay.
Or comprehend.
Okay. So yeda is
Knowledge.
It's the knowledge of God. It's recognizing knowledge, recognizing or knowing God, whatever that means, right? And havana is internalizing it. It's really understanding it on a totally different level. So it's not enough to know that there is a creator for the world. I need to understand what it means about me, how to translate to me. If I'm one of those creatures, and my life is not just a random whatever, collection of genes that whatever, it means that I'm not the only one who makes all the decisions. I have responsibility. I have a responsibility towards myself, towards whatever, others, towards this world, towards whatever. Okay? Okay. Then we go into the Khatima. Well, what's the Khatima? It's the end of the bracha. Baruch atah Hashem, melech al kol haaretz. Blessed are you, Hashem, King over all the world, who sanctifies Israel and the day of remembrance. On one hand, melech al kol haaretz, universalistic, the entire world. On the other hand, Mekadesh, Israel v'Yom HaZikaron. Thank you. It's particularistic. Israel and the holy day. So God is, and we said something along those lines, if you remember, when we talked about the Shalosh Regalim. So God is the king of the entire universe. However, it is Israel that sanctify the day and coronate God in the process. Remember what we said in the Tane Tokef, like about, I don't know, whatever, a couple of weeks ago, that we said it's right, it's the birth of the world. Okay, to be exact, it's actually Rosh Hashana is not the birth of the world, but rather the birth of human beings. Right? It's according to tradition, that's the day on which Adam and Eve were created. Okay. So the day of judgment, we say Rosh Hashanah is the day of judgment. It's the day of judgment for all mankind, because we all come from Adam and Eve, regardless of religion and whatever nationality and any of that stuff. However, within that, so we're part of that general big world, mankind, call it whatever you want. However, we have a particular role. We have particular, right? And it doesn't make us good, better, nothing. We have a particular job. Remember the paragraph that you read from Rav Hirsch back then about Shalosh Regalim, right? Ata v'chartanu. That's exactly the same idea. We have a particular job. That job is here on Rosh Hashanah. We sanctify that day. Rosh Hashanah is a holiday, was given to us. Yes, the entire world is judged. But they don't have to be stuck in shul the whole day listening to the Chazan. You do. They don't have to. They don't need. They will hear us. Not because we blow the shofar in shul, not because we say Aleinu, but what?
Yes, go on the show.
No.
They don't hear.
Because what? Because we translate, God willing,
in our daily life.
exactly. We translate it into action.
But they're anti-Semitic.
Some of them, yes.
But some of them aren't. Some of
Correct.
them.
Some of them are, some of them are not.
An experience of Jews in a positive way
Absolutely.
because they observe that.
Correct.
Or they, live amongst them.
But the idea is that if we take those words and translate it into actions, then we impact them to recognize God, which is what we're asking in the tefillah.
Yes.
And this is how the action translates into. Okay. Fine. So the vision of this bracha, and that's a kind of a conclusion for this bracha, is not like escape from the world, whatever, but rather it's a vision for a world that what every being knows their place, they know their source, and everybody recognizes God's kingship according to their role in the world, whatever that means. Okay, let's go into Zichronot. And then I'm going to do Hayom Harat Olam and Areshet, because they come 3 times.
I'm gonna interrupt you, but
Yes,
after each section, you're gonna blow shofar.
correct. That's what I said just before you came. Yes, we blow shofar and we say those 2 poems, Areshet and Hayom Harat Olam, which we're going to discuss hopefully in 15 minutes or so,
Okay.
20 minutes.
Right.
Okay. Now I'm going to go into the last paragraph of Zichronot, which, again, comes after the, okay, let's do it for you. Okay. So Zichronot starts on 542, right? Okay, that's the opening which we discussed last week. Then, I need to sneeze. Then we have, oh, thank you. I saw that coming. 546 there are the verses. Okay, we discussed last week, and then here on 548 is the closing section, the closing paragraph of the bracha. Let's see what it says. Our God and our God of our forefathers, remember us. Okay, remember, now we are in the Zichronot theme. Remember what we said about it. Like, how can I remember? Blah, blah, blah. God never forgets everything, all that kind of stuff. It means that it translates to action, right? It means that I knew. Okay, good. Remember. Remember us with a favorable remembrance before you. Recall us with a recollection of salvation and mercy from the primal, I hate this English, loftiest heavens. Yeah, we have to look. Yeah, and we have to look at,
Like
I don't
you-
know what, we have to look at, maybe the Koran has a better one. Okay, remember for us, Hashem, our God, the covenant, okay, make a mental note of that, the kindness and the oath that you swore to our father Abraham on Mount Moriah. Let there appear before you the Akedah, when Abraham, our father, bound Isaac, his son, upon the altar, and he suppressed, I think this is the most important, by the way, sentence in the paragraph, his mercy to do your will wholeheartedly. So may your mercy, this is where everything goes into this sentence. So may your mercy suppress your anger from upon us, and in your great good, may your burning anger withdraw from your people, from your city, and from your heritage. Fulfill for us, Hashem, our God, the matter that you promised in your Torah through Moses, your servant, from your glorious expression, as it is said, and I shall remember for them the covenant of the early ones, meaning our forefathers, whom I have taken out of the land of Egypt before the eyes of the nations to be their God. I am Hashem.
We need a good miracle
Um,
where the world can see.
Me,
absolutely.
yeah,
Okay.
for sure.
So this, remember, how does it start? The bracha of Zichronot, right? Look back in 542. אתה זוכר מעשה עולם ופוקד כל יצורי קדם. You remember the deeds done in the universe, 543, I'm sorry, and you recall all the creatures fashioned since earliest times. God's remembering encompasses the entire, all of creation, all of history, everything that was ever done, all the creatures. אין דבר נעלם מנגד עיניך, אין שכחה לפני חסרונך, אין נסתר מנגד עיניך. Nothing is missing, nothing is like get lost, nothing is falls between the cracks, none. But if that's the case, that's kind of scary. That's kind of scary.
Then he remembers all the bad.
Exactly.
Right.
Also the bad stuff, you know, the missed opportunities, the failures, whatever. And therefore, at the end, right, at 548, closing paragraph, we don't say, Zochreinu bezikaron, or remember us, or whatever, but we say, Zochreinu bezikaron tov lefanecha.
We're pleading our case.
Yeah, we're asking God, remember, yeah, I know that you remember everything, but please, the good stuff, okay? Why? Because that's going to translate into rachamim, into compassion, into salvation, into the covenant, into that stuff that we're asking God. Now, so zochreinu v'zikaron is to remember one thing. And then, second line, ufokdeinu bifkudat Yeshua v'rachamim. How do I call it?
Recall.
Recall. I don't know what it means. But the word to lifkod, yeah.
To measure.
To count. In the Torah, it's another step from zikaron. So, ויזכור אלוהים את נוח, ויזכור אלוהים את רחל, ויזכור אלוהים, blah, blah, blah. God remember, that led into an action. But kida is like really when it's like happening already. ויפקוד אלוהים את רחל.
Okay,
Okay, now that, yes. So it's beyond, it's a step further from memory. Memory, it means that God remembers that stuff, okay? It's being like boom on the screen, whatever that means. Pkida, ki fakad Hashem et amo, for example, right? That it means that it's that moment when that zikaron turns into an action. Okay?
Is that
When
every time you see Pei Kuf Dalet, it's
when it's in the context of zikaron. When Sarah is remembered, she's also nifkedet. B'Hashem pakadet Sarah ka'asher amar. It's not the, right. It's the action already, and therefore she's pregnant. When Bnei Israel batal Shabbatam, there's also the shorish pakad is there also. The memory translates into salvation. Okay, it's the process of redemption starts. And therefore we ask, Ufokdeinu bifkudat Yeshua v'rachamim. It's not enough that I want God to remember me. I want that action. It's not going to stay in the heavens. I want it to be my reality of Yeshua, of salvation, of compassion, of rachamim. Now it shifts a little bit. It's not like in a general. It becomes even more specific. What exactly is Zchor lanu Hashem Elokeinu? I'm in the third line. Et habrit ve'et hachesed ve'et hashvuah shenishba'at al Avraham Avinu be'Har Moriah. Brit. What does it mean, Brit? Covenant.
remix.
Yeah, which means it's a contract that means that you can break it. There's liability. There's like
Yeah.
commitment.
Yeah.
Let's call it commitment. Chesed, compassion, whatever that means. What? It's a bond of love. It's beyond the cheshbon. It's beyond what's right and wrong. If you remember, years ago we
The
discussed
spirit
that.
of the law.
No,
Almost.
it's
The brit is the law.
the
and
brit is
chesed
the law.
Spirit of law.
it's the feeling.
Yeah.
Remember when we talked about this idea of chesed? We spoke about that many times, but it's interesting. Chesed is the term that we use for things that are beyond what expected, beyond the norm. I don't have to do chesed for you. Yes, the Torah says you need. I don't have to give charity to somebody. I don't, I go to work. I work hard for my money. That's it. Where do we see the word chesed also? Chesed can be positive, can be negative, by the way. So today we look at that as kindness. It's all only in the positive sense. However, chesed appears also in the Torah reading, also for Yom Kippur and Mincha. It's the arayot, all the forbidden sexual relations. The word chesed is described in one of them. Why? It's overstepping the boundaries. Now,
There's
when
passion to it.
there's passion, okay, but passion and overstepping the boundaries could be
Tricky.
positive, could be also negative.
That you're consumed by it.
If I do something, okay, that is forbidden,
With zeal.
it's the negative.
So you just want to stop them from doing something.
Correct. Correct.
That-
That's a good.
That's
So
chesed.
going to the heart, killing them, that was the chesed.
Well,
Is that you're going above and beyond what you need to do. Get something done.
that's I don't think this is like the greatest example. But
You're
in
buying someone.
no, it's
To do something.
it's like it's going beyond the taboo. What is accepted? Okay, so in our terminology, usually it's in the positive way. I don't have to give you the charity, but I do that.
There's an overwhelmingness to it, is what you're saying?
I don't know if overwhelmingness, that's the word that I would choose, but there is like stepping over what a requirement.
Like if you give too much.
Correct. That could be negative. That is right.
Like you're
If I give $10, that's great. But if I give 100,000 to that guy on the street,
Yeah.
depends on my bank account. But I think that for most of us, that will be a bad idea, right? Okay. So that's the chesed. But so what we want, but from God, is to, yes, we want from God, we want that. We want that beyond the boundaries, beyond what is the cheshbon, beyond what you have to. And then the shvu'ah. We're asking for the shvu'ah, right? Because it's the brit chesed and shvu'ah. Shvu'ah, the oath. The oath is the godly oath that it never, no matter what, oath is something that cannot be broken, repelled, nothing, ever. So we want the brit, the chesed, and the shvu'ah.
So is the shvuah stronger than the brit? And is there something?
Yeah, because brit, to some extent, brit can be broken. Shvuah cannot. So, okay, let's take it now into.
Ah, interesting.
I'm going to say yes. In that context, yes. Because we turn to God and we say, we want you to remember that. It's not to it. Yes. You made for, yeah, you made, right? Because we're asking him. So, okay, so what does it mean to us? So zichronot, right? The whole bracha teaching us that we're not alone. There's memory. There's covenant. There's oath. Behind me, there's Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov. There's ancestors. There's the Akedah. There's a promise. There's kindness. When I come to this judgment, it's not only me. I have some serious case. I have merit. I'm like I come with a whole file. Okay. Now let's talk about the Akedah for a second. There's an emphasis here, right? There's emphasis specifically on that incident of the Akedah, the binding of Isaac. Because the Akedah has some of the foundations of Rosh Hashanah. Love, sacrifice, yir'ah, or correct? Father and son, which, by the way, next week we're going to discuss the Avinu Malkeinu piyut, so all the idea of
Father and son also in terms of Hashem being
father and son, correct, that's what I'm saying, our father, right? Din, rachamim, dedication, nisayon, trial, shofar, right? The shofar, one of the reasons we blow the shofar is because it's, as Chazal said, Elo shel Yitzchak. It reminds the ram in the Akedah. Okay. So as I said before, for me at least, the strongest or the most important sentence here, וחבש רחמיו לעשות רצונך בלבב שלם, I'm 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th line. וחבש רחמיו לעשות רצונך בלבב שלם, כן יכבשו רחמך את קשך מעלינו, טובך הגדול ישוב חרון אפך ומעמך ומעירך מארצך ונחלתך. There's a transition here. Abraham, how do you translate it? Abraham, a father, upon an altar, and suppressed his mercy. Right? So Abraham suppressed his mercy on Isaac, and he was willing to sacrifice Isaac for you. And we ask you, God, to do the same for us. Okay? And therefore, suppress your anger from upon us.
Mm-hmm.
So, remembering the Akedah is not just like something of the history. It's much more. It's way beyond that. It takes a historic event, shifting it into a tefillah. Remember that. He was willing to do that for you. Now, God, I ask you to do the same thing. Tefillah is when I turn to God and I ask God for something, right? Okay. Which is fascinating. Okay. And then the Chatima. Baruch Ata Hashem, what? Zocher habrit. It's not Zocher hakol. We could have said, like, because how do we start the bracha? Right? We say, Ata Zocher Maaseh Olam. Fuket kol yitzurei kerem. You remember everything, blah, 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 whatever, all that kind of stuff, right? We could have, like, finished with Baruch Ata Hashem, Zocher hakol. No. Zocher habrit.
That's why we're all lawyers.
We're the ones that have to remember the food.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
It's Zocher habrit. Of this entire protocol, this entire recorded history, this entire, like, everything, all that information, whatever that is remembered, recorded, whatever, all that stuff. What is it that we're asking? That God is going to remember at the end is the brit. It's the covenant. Why it's not the oath? Why it's not the chesed?
Maybe the breach is all encompassing? No, not really.
Because it's
He needs it.
Oh, because it was done for Hashana.
no. I think it's because it requires a partner. That's the only one that requires a partner. If it's a contract, it's require a partner.
Both,
Yeah.
both ways.
So this is what the oath
Both
does
ways.
not, but the brit, yes, it requires a partner. And this is why the tefillah mentioned this, because what? As we said, every part of it calls us to action. If it's only on God, it's the oath, or the way I ask God to do the chesed for me, I don't have to do anything, right? I'm just like, I'm the one who's receiving that chesed. I can be like a guy that is not worthy of that shvuah, but it is what it is. You made a commitment to my forefathers, so I'm going to benefit from that. No. The brit,
Goes both ways.
it goes both ways. It requires, it behooves me also for action.
One cannot be without the other.
Correct. I'm asking God for everything, but at the end,
Both of you are involved, yeah.
that's what I want. Okay.
Maybe so, please, meaning, Ten Commandments?
It's everything. It's the entire covenant. But the point is that it requires it also obligates me.
You have to have us be present, and if you just kill us, then there goes your.
You're going the Moshe way, I call it. Like, Lama yomru hagoyim, like all that's like, like that's what Moshe is doing, like, playing on God's Jewish conscience.
Yes.
It's like, what the Goyim will say, come on, God, you can't do this to us,
We should say that for Israel today.
Okay, let's take a look at the third one, right? So the third one is shofarot, starts on 552. We discussed that last week, right? So this is the top paragraph, and then we have towards the end, it starts with the we have the verses, we discussed that last week, and that takes us to that's the second paragraph on 556. This is where we are. 556. Okay. So again, what we're going to do is we're going to look at what we started with. 552. Just hold the two pages together. It'll be because we're going to go a little bit back and forth. Right? 552 and 556. The paragraph, right, in between it's just a psukim. The paragraph starts with what? The shofar of Sinai, the shofar of revelation. Right? That's Sinai. בהיגלותך מלכנו על הר סיני ללמד לעמך תורה ומצוות. It can't be more revealed than this. Right? Okay. That's the way it starts. And we said that what? Why specifically shofar? Because it moves us to action. Right? Remember what I said that somebody also correct. But remember when I said that I don't remember, I quoted somebody that I don't remember who, that music starts where words end.
Yeah.
It's also deeply intertwined with memory. You see that
Sure.
people who unfortunately have dementia or Alzheimer's, but they don't forget any of the songs.
Correct. So
That's interesting.
shofar is not only like this technical instrument. It's not only technical. It's something that is more primal. It's something that is beyond the words. Something that it's a sound that's supposed to waken us. Like, doesn't explain. I can't hide behind nuances of language and stuff like that. Okay. So this is the shofar that we start with. Okay. What is the shofar that we end with? Look at 556. Teka b'shofar. We didn't read it. Second paragraph, 557. Our God and God of our forefathers. Okay, sound the great shofar for our freedom. Raise the banner to gather our exiles, draw our scattered ones near from among the nations, and bring in our dispersions from the ends of the earth. Bring us to Zion, your city, in a glad song, and to Jerusalem, your temple, blah, blah, blah. Okay? So what is the shofar that we're ending with? Is the shofar of Geula, of redemption. It's not only it's not anymore the shofar of the past, the shofar of revelation. We're talking about, remember that like the creation, revelation, that cycle, right? It's also past, present, future. Okay, thank you. So now we're talking about future, and we're talking about not revelation, but redemption. Thank you.
What do you mean by redemption? That we all come together in Yerushalayim?
Correct.
That's the definition of redemption?
That's one of them. Okay. So shofar, the shofarot, the bracha of shofarot starts with Sinai, with the revelation, and ends in redemption. The sound that we heard at Sinai becomes the sound of redemption, and specifically in what? The great shofar for freedom, and gather us from our exiles. Some translate it, yes. Okay? Now, so it's the same shofar that moves from the past to the future, from revelation, where God gives us everything, into that redemption, right? The rebuilding of Zion, Yerushalayim, Beit HaMikdash, blah, blah, blah. All that kind of stuff, which means what? Also moving from God doing everything for you to you're doing it.
Independence. I mean, not independence about God.
Activism.
Moving from the toddler stage to the.
Correct. Being active, being right. And how do why am I saying that? Look at the next sentence. ושם נעשה לפניך את קורבנות חובותינו כמצווה עלינו בתורתך. That's the outcome. We will do what we want, what you ask us to do. Remember what we talked about when we compared it with the conservative Siddur? What did they do over there? It happened. And this is one of the fundamental differences, theological differences. Okay? So the Reform movement, just to remind everybody, cut the Musaf service altogether, because Korbanot is something that we're not asking for. It's something that, okay. So it does not exist in a Reform. Sidurim, Machzorim, etc. The conservative movement decided to maintain the traditional language. However, they switched the tense from the future into the past. ששם עשו אבותינו לפניך את קורבנות. It changes the whole meaning. It takes like the whole thing out of it. It's okay. It happened in the past, right?
They don't believe in.
It's historical instead of.
It's historical
active.
instead of active,
Yeah.
instead of like, and we will do that.
Yeah.
Now we can debate what exactly going to happen, and we had those discussions in the past. What does it mean? Are we going to have sacrifices or not? It really doesn't matter. That's a different story. But the point is, our redemption, are we asking for that? Are we asking for the rebuild of Beit HaMikdash? Are we asking for, to do all that stuff? And that means we have to do something about it. Are we looking into the future, or are we looking at the past? Okay.
So you're saying one is a historical Judaism and one is a live, present, continue to
Correct.
move forward in the story.
Correct. I take the past, in this case, it's the sound of the shofar in Sinai, and I need to translate it into the future redemption in which I will be involved, in which I have to, Sham Naaseh, we will do before you, blah, 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 blah.
I can assume that they didn't say any of these when they had Beit HaMikdash.
No.
Oh.
No, the tefillot, as we said, no, but Nechama, remember, the tefillot were composed by Anshe Knesset HaGdolah, that's after.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Like that, besides doing the Korban,
They didn't,
that would give them the thoughts of, okay, I have to go forward and do something.
much less.
Maybe they were in
Maybe
survival
that's the
mode.
problem. Why
To some
they're
extent.
Telling them that they're going wrong.
But we said it many, many times that, like, you know, the what we have today is rabbinic Judaism, post-destruction of the temple, is very different than what
They had.
had. Like, you know, they had korbanot tzibur and that kind of stuff, and people fulfilled their obligation by paying the machatzit shekel and that kind of stuff, and korbanot tzibur were brought, and that's it. Everything was done by the Kohanim. I was going, like, you know, I'm a farmer somewhere, and whatever, I'm doing my thing. What happens was a democratization of the whole process, not only, by the way, of the relationship with God that transfers from the temple, from the Kohanim into everybody. Everybody is now obligated to do something, to communicate with God one-on-one. But it's also, for example, in Torah study. It's the same idea, right? It's the Kohanim that were the teachers, and they were like all over, and they like, and we moved from there to everybody needs to do that. Okay, so there was like a shift in the whole philosophy. Okay, so the shofar of Rosh Hashanah starts with awakening inside me, but at the end, it actually goes into the entire history of redemption. Okay. There's a progression here, which is interesting. By the way, when we talk, reminds you of something? Yeah. What? The tefillah that we say every day. One of the blessings of the Amidah is very much the same text, right? So there's an interesting progression. I think we discussed that when we discussed the tefillah, like, I don't know, 2-3 years ago. Okay. Tka b'shofar gadol, it starts, right? There's a progression. So first is the blowing into shofar. That means make sound. Okay. Then sanes. What is nes? A flag or sign or something that also that points you in the right direction. It's not only that you raise a flag, but the purpose of that flag is we're going, like in war or whatever, we're going this way, not this way, this way, right? It's also okay. Direction, correct. So shofar is to get my attention. The nes, it's not a miracle, it's a flag, right? To show me the direction. And then kabetz galuyotenu, gather everybody, right? Karev pezureinu, it's not only physically, which is the kibbutz galuyot, it's not only the physical karev pezureinu, it's also a kiruv, bring him closer. It's not only right, it's not only physically, but it's also mentally, it's etc. etc. Unefutzotenu kanes. That means what? Unefutzotenu kanes. Also the ones that are really far away in like little holes somewhere. Don't forget about them also. Right. Even like those who are, I don't know where, also them. Okay. And once all that is happening, then that movement ends in Zion. Okay? So there's a progression here. Do you remember what we did last week? Last week we said that the question that that this bracha asks is whether I can hear the sound that comes to me from the outside. That's the shofar. And here, what we're learning is that it's not only a process of by which I'm awakened, it's also gathering. It's also bring people from wherever they are into the center. And you can take that in the physical sense, but you can take it also, let's call it in the spiritual or the mental sense.
But also awakens God to do that.
God doesn't need that.
Apparently he does, because he's asking us to blow the shofar.
He's asking us to blow the shofar, but is it for him or is it for us?
Oh, to him, for him to remember,
It's for us.
and for us.
It's for us. We need, if it's malchuyot, if it's malchuyot, that means because we need that ritual. Remember what the horns and the shofarot that were blown in order when in the time of coronation of the king. We need that. And if it's like to awaken, we need to be awakened. He doesn't need to be awakened. He remembers everything. He's awake all the time. Okay. So now, so we have this freedom, right? We're asking for this freedom, and all this freedom is happening with the shofar and the whole and the gathering from all the right and all that stuff. The freedom is the freedom for what? To perform the mitzvot. ושם נעשה לפניך את קורבנות חובותינו כמצווה עלינו בתורתך. Perform the mitzvot. It's not like freedom, so that's it. I'm out. School is over. What? It's not. It's not only like coming back home. It's to be able to perform God's commandments. Okay, what is the Khatima? What is the Khatima? כי אתה שומע, ברוך אתה השם, top of 558, שומע כל תרועת עמו ישראל ברחמים. The Khatima takes us now, so we went from Sinai, the shofar of Sinai, to the shofar of redemption. And now it takes us to our own shofar. That shofar that is in the shul. Our shofar that is happening. Now it becomes personal, immediate. It's not the shofar of redemption. It's not the shofar of the Jubilee. It's not the shofar of Sinai. It's not all that stuff, the big stuff. It's the small stuff. And from that sound, that little, well, not necessarily, whatever. Compared to the shofar of Sinai, it's a little shofar that we blow in our service. On our Rosh Hashana, we're asking the big voice, the big sound of the shofar of the Geulah. And we're asking God to hear what? Amo Yisrael Berachamim. Okay, so we start with the past, with Sinai, and it becomes the sound of the redemption in the future. But in the meantime, we're asking God, in the meantime, listen to our shofar here at Bet Jacob. And with compassion. Okay.
Well, we are in the middle of being judged. I mean, this is the
Absolutely.
beginning of,
Absolutely.
you know,
Absolutely.
you know, right?
Okay. So so one last sentence, like to complete those three brachot. Malchuyot. What are we fixing or asking for or dealing with is in the entire world. What we're asking is the entire world to recognize God's kingship. Okay. Zichronot. What are we trying to fix or deal with? It's time. Time. There's the past, but we're projecting to the future, whatever, but it's time. All right. So what is we're asking? We're asking that our past will translate into covenant, to compassion, into good future. Okay? And then shofarot. What are we dealing with? History, yes, but also future, right? And that the sound of Sinai will translate into the sound of redemption. Okay,
Light stuff.
light stuff, sure. Okay, which brings us to two piyutim, right? If you look at the end, so we said that we have tkiyat shofar, we have the shofar blowing in every bracha. The end of each bracha is toot, whatever, the shofar. That's the action. That's a translation, how we translate all those words into action. But we have also two little poems every time, 3 times, those little poems. Okay, first poem, Hayom Arat Olam and Areshet Sfatenu. You can look at the middle of page 558. It makes no difference. It's like they come every time after Malchuyot Zichronot Shofarot. And they come, what I'm trying to say is that they don't come as a kind of ornament or something like an addition or something, but rather they come as a response. Right? So the end of the bracha, each bracha is kind of like we're looking outside. Like, we raise our eyes, we're looking into the world, into the memory, into the history, into redemption, right? What is the purpose of those piyutim? Back to us, internal.
Really sums up everything.
Okay? Who are we before God? Did he accept our voice? And this is why it's kind of like a refrain, a theological, emotional refrain after every bracha. At the end of the day, after all those big ideas, we go back to the day of judgment, to the sun, to the whatever, to the language, to the sound, the simple request, Kabel berachamim uvratzon et tfilatenu, accept our prayer with compassion. Okay, let's take a look at that for a couple of minutes and we're done for today. So the first one say, Hayom Arat Olam, Hayom Mishpat Kol Yitzurei Olamim. Today is the birthday of the world. Today, all creatures of the world stand in judgment, whether as children or as servants. If as children, be merciful with us as the mercy of the Father for children. If as servants, our eyes depend upon you until you will be gracious to us and release our verdict as light, O awesome and holy one. It's a very short piyut. But he says, on one hand, it's Hayom Arat Olam, it's the birthday of the world, right? On the other hand, Hayom Yamid B'Mishpat, it's a day of judgment. What is Hayom? What is Harat Olam? What's the image that we have? Harat, giving birth, right? It's the image of pregnancy, right? It's the day in which the world was reborn. But it's not only a celebration, like in a birth, it's a responsibility. If the world was born today, the question is what kind of world this is going to be. What kind of, and let's take it another step, what kind of person is born out of me this year? That's the real question. Right? Okay. Im kavadim. Right? Whether as children or as servants. This is kind of like the heart of this field. The poet doesn't say with certainty we're children. He doesn't say also we're servants, like, oh God, we're servants. He says
one or the other, or both.
Or both. Thank you.
Right.
Said whether, okay, so we have this dual language with God. The language of children, that means closeness, compassion, love, family, covenant. And the language of servants, which is awe, judgment, kingship, dependency.
But also responsibility for the owner.
In both cases,
Yeah.
responsibility is always. Okay? And we go back and forth between the two. We're going to expand on this idea next week when we discuss Avinu Malkeinu. So Hayom Harat Olam is the place where Avinu, our father, and Malkeinu, our king, meet. On one hand, a father and children. On one hand is a king and servants. On one hand, Rachamim, compassion. On the other hand is judgment. Okay. Hayom Harat Olam. The next. So we say it after each one of them, right? So after Malchuyot, we understand. Okay, it makes sense because we just said God is the king, whatever. So we say, okay, so it's we just declared God is the king of the universe. Exactly. Kavadim, God is the king. Okay, fine. Vim, and therefore perhaps the most important sentence when it comes in conjunction to Malchuyotim, Vim kavadim einenu lecha tluyot. If we're like servants, we look up to you. It's not, it's like, it's a recognition. We're used to think that we have control of everything. We don't. We depend on you. Okay? Okay. After Zichronot is what? The emphasis, it's more related to what? It's not Kavadim, but Tzim Kevanim.
Why is it Kevanim and not Kevanim?
Yeah.
Why is it a vet here?
Because when it's Smichut, when it's connected to Ki, Be, Ke, Le, all those Milot Yachas connected, then it's not anymore, the Dagesh falls and goes before that Beget Kefet Berosh Milah, it goes to the Ka, and therefore that becomes Rafeh. Yeah. It's just grammar.
Okay.
After Zichronot, the emphasis or the highlight is what? To be remembered as children. Exactly. Right? After because we talked about the memory, we talked about the Brit, we talked about the fathers, we talked about the Akedah, we talked about the history. So we said, look, don't remember us as a judge, remember us as a father. Okay? Okay? And then after Shofarot is what? What's the most important word? Einenu lecha tluyot. The way I look at it, we look up to you. Why? Because shofar doesn't say anything. The shofar only says, "Wake up," and we responded, and then we look up to you. I don't even know. Like I look up to you, whether it's fun, it doesn't matter how. Okay. Areshet Sfatenu will take us 2 minutes. Areshet Sfatenu, the second piyut that comes also. May the utterance of our lips be pleasant before you, or exalted and uplifted God, who discerns and gives ear, looks closely and hearkens to the sound of our shofar blasts, and may you accept with mercy and favor the order of our shofar services, or zichronot, or malchuyot. That word changes every time. Okay. So, okay, what do we say? Mevinu ma'azin, mabitu makshiv. Okay. That's interesting. I'll get there. Mevin, that means that he understands everything that we were not able to say. Ma'azin, he hears the voice. It's not only the words, it's also the intonation. It's also, sometimes, with your children or your spouse or somebody close, they don't have to say the word. Sometimes they go, what's wrong? Just from the...
They say nothing and you know something's wrong. Yeah.
Okay, that's ma'azin.
Right.
Mabit, look at us. I can be like shuckling and davening and whatever, and all the, and I can say all the texts and everything, but look at me. Look at what state am I. It's not only what I'm saying, but also how do I look? And makshiv is really paying attention to me. Right? Okay. And that's exactly the answer for, I think, one of our biggest fears on Rosh Hashanah. Maybe I didn't say it correctly. Maybe I didn't have the right kavanah. Maybe I'm not worthy. Maybe my prayer is not complete. So when we say "Areshet Sfatenu," God says, God understands, God sees, God hears the intonation, and as long as I'm sincere, it's going to work. Okay, one last point. If Hayom Harat Olam asks, who are we before God? Areshet Sfatenu asks, what happened to our tefillah to God? Did we say it correctly? Did we have a kavanah? Did we, is those psukim became tefillah or just remain as a text that we just like mumble? What was the tki'ah just like the halachic requirement that it has to be in a certain, that way, or it's actually a sound that awaken us to do something? Okay, what's areshet? How to translate it? Maybe the utterance. I don't know. I don't know. It's an expression, right? It's something that
Has to do with sound, no?
what I'm trying to say is it's even beyond sound. Something that perhaps I do with my lips, but something,
Almost like
like when you say sometimes without a sound,
oh,
without a sound even. And I think it's like symbolic because it comes after the shofar, because the shofar doesn't say anything. It's no words. What I think Areshit is trying to say, God accept our tefillot,
however we
even if we
deliver-
didn't say, even if we didn't verbalize it. It's kind of like same idea of Yiyu Ratzon. So the last question we are asking, why 3 times? We have those piyutim 3 times. Because it have different meanings every time. After Malchuyot, it's not only enough to say that God is the king. We need that this is going to be authentic process. We accept God as a king. It's not just like we're saying the words. It's Kabbalat on Ruchot Shamayim. We accept God as the king. Okay. After Zichronot, it could be scary. Therefore, we're asking that it's going to be Berachamim Uvratzon. Going to be the Brit, Rachamim, Tikkun. And after Shofarot, accept that sound. Accept even the tefillah that I'm unable to verbalize. Even the broken sound. Those feelings, those emotions that I'm not able to articulate, to verbalize. I'm asking you, God, to listen to that stuff, and that will be that sound that will give us the Rachamim and the good judgment. Next week, we're going to discuss Avinu Malkeinu and Kitzvah. Actually, not in Kitzvah, we'll discuss in Kitzvah. V'chol ma'aminim, Ochila, and Hayom Tamtzeinu, and that's going to be the end of Rosh Hashana. Yay! Which gets us to Yom Kippur. A lot of the Yom Kippur stuff is the same. So we're gonna go